Hello, everyone, listeners of all shapes and sizes. Thank you so much for clicking on this podcast. Someday I'll Have a Podcast is a very lightly edited show where I, Ren, your host, talk about anything I feel like talking about that day. I like to think that we cover a wide range of subjects and often focusing on kind of like the deeper meaning, something that we can take away from the episode, something that we can all learn together about this little journey of life. I recently was traveling in Denmark with my family, and Denmark is one of the Scandinavian countries. It's right up there with, Finland and Sweden and Norway. And so Denmark ranked for many of the past years the top few happiness countries in the world. And why is that and how is that? And I did do a little video about this on YouTube, so I can have that linked in the show notes. But let's really dive in. The author of the book that I'm currently reading, Mike Wicking, is also the founder of the Happiness Institute, a research institute that is basically funded by the United Nations that just does research into what makes people happy. I feel like I know that right now our focus is largely on, finding cures for major diseases and space exploration. But like when it comes down to like the bare bones of things in life, I think this is research worth funding, in my own personal opinion. Because on the day to day and at the basis of like our human lives, what does make us happy? What makes a nation happy? I feel like this is interesting, necessary work. And the book that I'm currently reading is called The Little Book of Hygge, Secrets to Danish Living, something along those lines. And this book kind of explores why Denmark ranks so high every single year on the happiness scale. And so let's just kind of dive into a little bit more of what this means, what this looks like. How do we know? What is this measured by? Because I think that is a good conversation in and of itself. To kind of decide what we think. Do we think that these are valid points to dive into? Do we think these are valid scales to measure happiness? What do we think? And I do want this to be a conversation, as always. I know it's just me talking into a microphone by myself at the moment, but my DMs are always open on Instagram, and I really do want this to be a conversation. I want to know your thoughts. So let's dive in. So the top 10 countries for 2025 is this list. I'll start at 1 and go down to number 10. Finland, happiest. Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, Netherlands, Costa Rica, Norway, Israel, Luxembourg, and Mexico. So let's dive into this for a moment. Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, Netherlands, and Norway are all like Nordic, Scandinavian, very North European countries. Do we think that this is a coincidence? Do we think that it's biased research because this is a lot of the area where the research is taking place? But the research is based on self-reported happiness levels for 6 different elements, 6 different categories. And those are GDP per capita, healthy life expectancy, freedom to make life choices, good governance, generosity, and social connections. We also have to talk about the fact that these numbers are based on 1,000 people who are interviewed and surveyed per country. And I actually was speaking about this with one of my English students recently that, in different areas of a given country, people might feel vastly different. And that's so true. For example, Italy. The northern half of Italy and the southern half of Italy have completely different life experiences. Same thing with the east and west coast of the United States. Same thing, I'm sure, of like Chile, because it's such a huge country with vastly different climates and resources and all sorts of different things, right? So it's worth questioning that element. Where did you find these 1,000 people to interview? I'm trying to go into this without being biased. So actually, when we were traveling in Denmark, we went to the Happiness Museum. Essentially what that was kind of like small exhibits and information based upon this research and the different elements of what makes a person happy, which ultimately creates what makes a nation happy. And one of the exhibits was a focus on utopia. the novel entitled Utopia that was published in 1516, okay? Bazillion years ago, it feels like. And there was a few different requirements for what makes a utopia. One, there is no unemployment. People work 6 hours per day. Hospitals are free. There is no private property and no locks on the doors. The houses are rotated between citizens every decade. There are several religions on the island, including moon worshippers and sun worshippers, but they are all tolerant of each other's beliefs. Everyone wears the same clothes. Women do the same work as men. Okay, now, these ideas came from 1516, so let's remember that when we're discussing this. A lot has changed since then. Obviously, evidently, our whole societies operate completely different. But some of these elements are what still to this day make the happiest countries. Levels of unemployment are extremely low, if not non-existent. And the workload is shared. The part about women doing the same work as men, it kind of works the other way around too. Men doing the same work as women. In a lot of these Nordic Scandinavian countries, both parents have the same amount of parental leave from their jobs. Both of them are expected to do equal amount of work. I was actually speaking with a regular at the bar where I work. He is from Great Britain, and he did an extended stay in Norway, and he noticed one of the things he said he noticed while he was living there. He was like, something feels weird, something feels different about this. And he looked around and he said, the men were pushing the prams, meaning instead of women always out and about pushing the strollers, taking their kids on walks, the men were doing that and spending the same amount of time. And I know that we live in a society here in the US where we are advancing and there's a lot more equality than there even was 20 years ago. But still, if you think about what our companies offer us for parental leave, paternal leave specifically, and still we have internalized a lot of these gender roles. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I definitely think women should still have plenty of time with their children, and I don't think there should be a trade-off or anything like that. I'm not saying to the extreme. But it seems like throughout the world, some level of equality is what makes people happy. And that's not just with job security and job opportunities. It goes much farther than that, with keeping up the household, taking care of the children, doing the work, being a quote unquote breadwinner, being able to provide for your family. A lot of that work is shared. And in this idea of utopia that was written forever ago, that's one of those things. And these same ideas kind of stand true today. Another one that I thought was really interesting is hospitals are free. Most of these countries, as listed above, or a lot of them at least, do offer universal health care. And it's not at the cost of the individual. Sure, a lot of these places are paying high taxes, which is, like I'm saying, I'd love to play devil's advocate. I had some remarks on my YouTube video about this, is that the way that the taxes are extremely high in places like Denmark and other things, but I think I know I complain about having high taxes, but I also feel like nothing is included with that. You know what I mean? Yes, our firefighters, our police, and that safety protections, that's amazing. And I love that my tax dollars go to that. Public schools, amazing. But also my basic needs that I'm paying for with my taxes don't feel met a lot of the time, higher education or healthcare. I don't have access to those things through my taxes or whatever. So, there's pros and cons to it all, but universal free healthcare, hospitals are free, urgent care, it's free. And that also is one of the things that contributes to a society being happy. Maybe it's the idea that you feel more safe. If something were to go wrong, you're not worried or stressed about your bank account, being able to survive, being able to feed your family and those kind of things. That's so interesting. People working 6 hours a day. And I think we're doing pretty good. I know we have a lot of companies are doing flex where you can work from home or the office, and a lot of people have loved that. We also have had a lot of companies, offer, we have our hours for lunch and all these things. And 8 hours a day isn't too bad either. But there is a time where I think we become exhausted or we become checked out and we're not getting work done anyway. We're not being productive anyway. And so it does beg the question, what really makes for high productivity? And does that play into happiness? And I think also, if you're working 8 hours or more even, I know a lot of people work more than 8 hours per day in their average work week, then you're exhausted when you come home. You have only enough time to make dinner, maybe go to the gym, take a shower, and, mindlessly scroll on your phone before you go to bed. Rather than, taking a walk, hanging out with your family and friends, seeing people that you love, spending time in green spaces. And again, all of these are things that seem to contribute to the happiest countries in the world, the happiest places. One of the things about Utopia that was written forever ago, it also says there's no private property, no locks on doors. We don't live in that society where it's safe. I would not feel safe having no lock on my door. I would not feel safe, living on one big, kind of a free-for-all. But is that a product of the society that we've built? Is it the fact that there's unemployment and food insecurity and all of those things that can contribute to making it a more dangerous society where we do need to lock our doors and protect our property and protect our things and ourselves? I don't know. These are great questions, great things to think about. I have posed this question to a lot of my English students lately, and a lot of them have different answers about what would, contribute to making a country very happy. And some of them have said things as simple as better public transit systems. Some of them had said things like food security and unemployment. And some of them have said things like not corrupt government, something that you would think is like the most basic thing. But also so many governments of our world are operated solely on greed and power. And that doesn't make for, the happiest of places. Another point based on this book of Utopia, it's talking about several religions and being tolerant of each other. It feels like that's speaking to us now. I think that if we can just accept our differences and maybe even our limitations to understand each other and truly know each other, that would do wonders for our world, because we have wars based on religion, even now, obviously. And we have hatred and hate crimes happening because we can't agree, and not even agree, we just can't tolerate each other. For some reason, something is going on where we can't seem to find a common ground of humanity. And so I think that if there was a basis of tolerance and acceptance of others, of people different than us, as they say here, the sun worshipers versus the moon worshipers, you can accept that someone might have a different viewpoint than you, and that's okay. I think that's a huge thing. And it's also so interesting to me because, supposedly I live in a country, we have freedom of religion and freedom of language and freedom of choice and liberties. But in practice, and even now with the government, really, it feels that, it's all for show. So I would love to actually have a space where I would argue that a real happy country is a place that really embodies that. A really happy nation is a place that really embodies true freedoms like that, and without fear of, being hurt or ostracized or exiled for having a different viewpoint or a different way of life or religion or idea or language. And I like this idea of utopia. Truthfully, if you want me to be completely honest, without being a total Debbie Downer right now, I almost feel like we really are living in this little bit of a dystopia. I think of the show Black Mirror, and I think about how it's literally like season one, the things that were shown in season one of that show, maybe now, what is that, like 10 years old now? It feels like those things are coming to fruition in a lot of ways. And it's just like, how have we gotten here? I remember in the book that I'm reading, the little book of Hygge, which I don't think I really explained when I mentioned it earlier. Hygge is this kind of lifestyle that prioritizes comfort and coziness and togetherness. There is not a direct translation from Danish to English or really to a lot of other languages, but it's this lifestyle that prioritizes these things. And within Hygge, this lifestyle, there's a lot less phones. There's less. It's all about balance and everyone contributing. If you're having a meal, everyone brings something in like a potluck style so that everyone is contributing, and it's really a community event. Their focus is so much on just warm, peaceful, cozy life experiences. It doesn't have to be something grandiose. You're not showing off. You're not bragging about your life or this or that. It's really just peace and connection. And I think that is so beautiful. And I love it. And it's really cool to see the different lifestyles around the world and kind of what works for people, what doesn't work for people. But I think we definitely have something to learn from the perspective of an American, of a white American positioned on the Western side of the world, I definitely still feel like we have a lot to learn, even though we are one of, the most developed countries per se. I don't know if we're as developed with our humanity, our technology, sure. Our economy, maybe. Our education, sure. But for debate, like humanity-wise, our lifestyle, I think we have a lot of work to do. I think there's a lot of room for growth and a lot of things to learn. And I think that also can only be born from when you have an open mind and the ability to, or not even the ability, but the willingness to look outside yourself and the only things that you know, push yourself, push your boundaries. It doesn't even have to be traveling. You can literally read a book. You could literally watch a video about other people, listen to someone else's perspective. It, like I said, doesn't have to be some big grandiose trip. It can be something as simple as doing some research for yourself. What makes a place happy? Not even happy, but like learning about other lifestyles. We don't have all the answers. No one has all the answers, but it doesn't hurt to keep growing and keep pushing yourself. Not at all. It doesn't. It does not hurt. If anything, you'll only grow and become better for it. This podcast was born from the idea that someday I would do all these things, but we have to make our some days today. We only have now. Now is all we have, guys. I'm so serious about this. You never know what the future holds. So make today the best possible day. Take a deep breath. Listen to some good music. And speaking of music, it's time for me to share with you a song that I've been playing on repeat based on this playlist that Spotify makes for me for what I've been listening on repeat. And guys, honestly, I think I already know. Like, I'm pretty sure I already know because Beauty School Dropout came out with an awesome new song and I cannot get enough of it. So I'll recommend this one to you because, yep, there it is. It's called On Your Lips by Beauty School Dropout. Super angsty, kind of like sexy, but like in a dark way. I don't know. You might enjoy it. I will have that linked, but also this song, Not the 1975 by Knox. This band I got introduced to recently. And I mean, they're so good. Their music, it's kind of like on the alternative, like pop punk side, but they're very like light, almost like pop. I don't know. I really enjoy them. I think you might enjoy their sound if you're into just like good music. I feel like they're a lot more palatable than something like Beauty School Dropout, just because, I don't know, the popular things in our realm right now, in our sphere. But yeah, both of those songs will be linked. I also didn't realize ever that there was like the feature where I could like shortcut to the song. So I'm going to try and do that now in this episode. And yeah, with all of that being said, thank you so much for clicking on this podcast. I do believe that if you ended up here, you had something, a reason to, you had something to learn, something to take away from this. So I hope you feel that way as well. I look forward to seeing you in the future. Life just keeps on keeping on, and we're busy, but we're making it all happen. So subscribe to the podcast, leave a review. It really helps me push me in the algorithm if you liked anything that you hear here, if you're here. And thank you so much. Make your someday today. I'll catch you later. Bye.